Now, breaking news now. As you know, at the start of the program, I spoke about Anthony Albanese's broken promise to hold a royal commission into the COVID-19 response. Well, Phil Curry, the political editor at the Fin Review, has just broken the story that tomorrow, the Albanese government is expected to announce a commission of inquiry into the COVID-19 response. He says, though, and he has just written this on the Fin Review, that it is expected to fall short of the royal commission that Anthony Albanese promised when he's in opposition. One source told Phil Curry that the inquiry would aim to release an interim report before the end of this year, raising fears it will not be very thorough. And Phil Curry's revealed that the Commission of Inquiry will likely be conducted by an economist, an epidemiologist and a public administration expert. All right, let's bring in now National Senate Leader Bridget McKenzie. Bridget, what's your reaction to this news that the Albanese government will announce tomorrow a Commission of Inquiry into the COVID-19
Well,
response?
it's another broken promise by Anthony Albanese. He went to the election promising a royal commission. They ran a select committee in the Senate throughout COVID, hearing from experts for, over a year. They heard from a wide range of experts right across the country. And out of that inquiry, they decided they would have a royal commission. Now, they're not delivering a royal commission. And there's only one reason why, Sharri, and it's because a royal commission into COVID would have to look at national cabinet, would have to look at how that functioned to keep us all safe through a global pandemic, but then look at the different jurisdictions' reactions. And that means seriously examining the actions of Premier Daniel Andrews in my home state of Victoria, where we were locked in our houses, where we're still dealing with the mental health outcomes, particularly for our young people, and the behaviour of Anastasia Palaszczuk when she slammed shut that border between New South Wales and Queensland and people couldn't deliver babies. I mean, it was just incredible. So
the difference between a royal commission and a judicial inquiry is that a royal commission could compel the states to give evidence.
Absolutely.
Whereas a commission of inquiry might not have that same power. So do you think this is a case of Albanese trying to protect the Labor state premiers?
Absolutely, Sharri. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. They are running hand in glove, promising, in my own portfolio area, for instance, in infrastructure, they are using taxpayers' funds to fund things like the suburban rail loop, $2.2 billion in Melbourne. Pet project of Daniel Andrews, no scrutiny or cost-benefit analysis, but prepared to tip the money in because Daniel needs it. And similarly, up in Queensland, when you look at the funding for the Olympics, none of this has cost-benefit analyses, but they're prepared to do the bidding of these very powerful Labor premiers.
Would the opposition, and I understand this news is just broken on the Fin Review website, but is it your understanding that the coalition would participate in this inquiry if it didn't include the states?
Well, I think Peter Dutton, as the Leader of the Opposition, has been very clear about our baseline cooperation, and that is that we are able to look at the whole of the nation's response to the global pandemic. Carving it out to only look at the Commonwealth's response when you're not actually going to look at the states who are in charge of the vaccine rollout into communities and a raft of other agreed measures that they politicised in the end, I think does the public a disservice and won't provide the answers that are just.
Yeah. And just to reiterate before we move on to Qatar Airways, you referenced the Senate Select Committee on the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, Katie Gallagher was chair of that Senate Select Committee, and her recommendation, the Labor Party's recommendation, was in black and white for there to be a royal commission into the COVID-19 inquiry. So we'll see what that looks like tomorrow, but there are already concerns that if a report is expected to be handed down by the end of this year and we're in September, then how can it genuinely be thorough?
Well, there were so many issues, right, with COVID, things that we got really, really right. We led the world in, and other things where obviously politics got in the way. And we need to be able to disclose all of those issues so that we can be better prepared next time. And the government promised a royal commission and he's broken his word, just like he did on energy payment bills. Now,
you've been chairing an inquiry into Qatar Airways and Qantas and why the government made the decision to reject Qatar's bid for 28 extra flights in and out of the country. What have you discovered so far?
Yeah, well, yesterday we were in Sydney. We head off to Perth for Friday, and yesterday we heard from a range of experts in the aviation industry that had the government approved those additional flights, a price of an airline ticket from this country to Europe through the Middle East would be much lower. There'd also be greater choice of destination. And yesterday we also heard from Sydney Airport around the way Qantas and the other big airlines, I'll say game, they didn't use those words, but use the regulatory framework around the slots who can take off and land in Sydney Airport to their competitive advantage. So this is a really anti-competitive space at the moment, and the government's making decisions that keep prices high and mean cancellations and delays are going in the wrong directions. And Catherine King could make decisions right now, today, to actually fix that, but they're not doing it.
To have more capacity, which would drive down the prices.
Absolutely, and greater competition. So, and how we actually regulate flights coming in and out of Sydney Airport, the number that can come in and out.
All right. Look, on energy, it seems that Chris Bowen is at odds with the coalition. He's put forward figures, costings that show $387 billion would be the cost of the coalition's proposed policy to convert coal-fired power stations to nuclear reactors. What do you think about this? Is this modelling, does it sound right?
Does not stack up, Sharri. Before I got into politics, I taught mathematics and science, and the assumptions that are built into this modelling are a joke. They've been completely trashed by any experts, and they don't even model our actual policy, which is a real shame. You know, we want to see a low emissions future for economy for our country, but we need to make sure we can keep the lights on, that our manufacturers can keep people employed, and that means baseload power. So, of course, nuclear, like all our competitors globally, the US, most of Europe, have access to that generation power. But Bowen is desperate, I think, because his pathway, carpeting our productive land with solar panels, 28,000 kilometres of transmission lines crisscrossing rural and regional communities. And then you've got the terrible decisions around those wind farms offshore that are causing a lot of angst now in Labor Party seats up in the Hunter. He's starting to realise that his decisions that aren't based in reality are not being favoured by the people, and that's going to have political consequences.
All right. Bridget McKenzie, thank you very much for your time.